Hey Pro, I thought you said that the ratings for The Mandalorian were crashing. I thought we all said that this premiere show for Disney Plus has seen its better days behind it, that the quality has dropped, that Season 3 has less viewers than Season 2. What's going on? Well, folks, I'm going to break this down so that it's easy to understand, and we're going to find out, is The Mandalorian actually now rising in the excitement from all of the fans out there, or are we being tricked by a little bit of easy math? Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. We've got a short one here today, but it's important to do, folks. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. Today, we're discussing The Mandalorian, specifically Season 3, and for some, quite the surprise, The Mandalorian popped over the billion minutes watched mark in the most recent Nielsen ratings, that covering the third episode, which for many was the worst until Jack Black and Lizzo showed up to the scene later on in this same season. Well, here's the deal, folks. Should we now say that when The Mandalorian topped the billion minutes watched mark and took number 3 overall on Nielsen, that thing that you're seeing right now, that The Mandalorian is back and in a healthy position? Was this something that completely shook the critics on YouTube and the critics in the vlogosphere and the blogosphere? Were they all taken aback by this landing that it had? And the answer to that is simply no. Actually, this is very simple to understand, and we're going to look at it. By the end of this video, I think you'll agree this is pretty simple. Now, The Mandalorian in the previous 2 episodes for the third season came in quite low compared to previous seasons. This third episode now comes in over the billion minutes watched mark, and you would think, well, that's really something, right? And kudos to it. I'm not here to be black-pilled or negative or just be nonstop negative about Disney and Star Wars. We try to be analytical here. We try to take a look at what the market is saying and how it's responding. You can see that if you make number 3 on the all-time 10 chart for a single week for Nielsen, well, you know, kudos to you. That's a very good thing. It's excellent for Star Wars. It's excellent for Disney. There's no taking away from that. It's also nice to see that Bluey is in the 7th place. So that's 2 for Disney Plus in the top 10 for that week. So fantastic. All right, but let's explain what's going on. We need to do that, okay? So if we go now to The Hollywood Reporter, this one by James Hibbard, The Mandalorian fans turn on Season 3, a massive drop in quality. This came just 5 days ago. So something was still keeping people unhappy. And that thing that made people unhappy is when we made it to episode 6, people were quite dissatisfied with Duchess of Plaisir 15 and Captain Bombardier. That's Lizzo and Jack Black playing those characters. And people have just been, well, they've been confused by the up and downs of the quality of Season 3. Episode 3, however, was up until this most recent one where we had Jack Black and Lizzo, and I know we've had episode 7 now, but episode 3 was considered pretty bad, and it also sent us in the direction of the sequel trilogy, which made plenty of people unhappy. So then how is it that episode 3 did decently well, that it topped the billion? Surely that should have happened for the second episode, for the first episode, right? Well, no, it's actually super easy to explain why this happened. One of the things we need to consider is that the second episode was really good, and that may have brought people back and said, you know what, maybe that first episode wasn't as terrible as we thought. Maybe they've pulled, things together. The first one was just sort of out of place. And so people came back to watch the third one thinking that, well, the second one was good. But here's really what's happening. And that's why this video is a little short today, is because this isn't hard to figure out. Let's take a look at this. So Season 3, Episode 7. This coming to us from Dexerto.com. And it says The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7 runtime. And it gives us all of the first 7 runtimes, not including 8, which will be the last episode of this season coming out next week. But you can see that in the first 3 episodes, the apostate was 35 minutes, 16 seconds, so very short, right? So that pulled its viewing time down. Remember that Nielsen is checking for minutes watched, not eyeballs on the screen. That would be extremely difficult to do, so they go to minutes instead. Then we have Episode 2, The Mines of Mandalore, 42 minutes and 24 seconds. You'll recall This is the one that was really good. A lot of people liked episode 2, and not only did a lot of people like episode 2, but a lot of people, well, it's longer than the first episode. How about that? And so that gives it a little boost. But here's the big thing.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?
Compared to episode 1, episode 3 is way longer. The convert, that's the one that's being measured here, is 56 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, that's 25% above the Mines of Mandalore. And if we go back to the Hollywood Reporter now, same episode again, and we go down here, the Nielsen data for the Mandalorian Season 3 is limited to just the first 2 episodes when this came out. The show has averaged 856 million minutes of viewing, per week, down a modest 14% from the first 2 weeks of Season 2. Now, it sort of downplays that drop in minutes of viewing, down 14% from Season 2, but that's really a big deal because there are more Disney subscribers today than there were during Season 2. In fact, Season 2 has been in the making for more than usual. This is not a year-to-year release of seasons. And so because of that, the subscriber base is supposed to be way bigger, and so the percentage just should by default go up. It should by default go up 14%, right? Not drop by 14%. And so that was indicating for those first 2 episodes that Season 3 was less popular by far than prior seasons. That's a lower percentage of Disney Plus subscribers deciding that they're going to watch The Mandalorian. Okay, let's go back again now to Dexerto, and let's take a look. 56 minutes and 11 seconds for the 3rd episode, 42 minutes and 24 seconds for the episode 2. So let's just figure this out now. 856 minutes, or 856 million minutes for the first 2 episodes. You increase that by 25% because that's basically what the increase is from 42 minutes to 56 minutes. And what do you find out? Well, you find out that you land right at 1,070,000,000 minutes watched. Now, luckily for The Mandalorian, it actually outperformed that. So if you just say, well, based on screen time alone, that it would go up by 25%, that would be a direct connection, right? You would say, okay, well, The Mandalorian had a 25% longer runtime, and therefore the minutes watched is 25% higher. And so that's all this means. The viewership didn't change. But actually, it outperformed that by a little bit. And then if you factor in the first episode, when you're doing the average, you find out that, hey, more people tuned into the 3rd episode than you would have anticipated. So really, really good for The Mandalorian. There's just one problem here that we need to address. And again, I'm not trying to be negative or black-pilled or hate on Star Wars or The Mandalorian just for the sake of hating on it. This is a good week for them in the ratings, but we're watching to see what happens now. And here's the big thing, folks, and this is what's going to tell us where this goes. If we go to IMDB.com and look at the episode list for Season 3 and check out the ratings they have, Chapter 17, The Apostate, came in at a 7.5. All right? Now, that probably caused a lot of people to have trepidation about continuing to watch this thing. 7.5 is not good on this rating scale. Then we had the 2nd episode come out, and it was an 8.3. Okay, so that's a significant boost up. So you combine that significant boost up with a longer runtime, and I'm thinking that more people decided they were going to sit down and watch this 3rd episode and give it a chance than usual. Here's the problem. That one came in at a 7.0, and 7.0 is really bad, especially for The Mandalorian for Star Wars. 7.0 is not good at all. And it's got 14,000 reviews on this. So this is not some sort of small sample size that could be construed in some other way. So you had all these eyeballs hop in. You had this big runtime. You had lots of minutes watched, but you only have a 7.0 on this scale. For the time, that was the lowest rated content, not only for The Mandalorian, but for several other Star Wars and even Marvel shows on Disney Plus. So pretty low. Did that spoil then those viewers? Did those viewers decide they're not coming back? We don't know that yet. We won't know that yet until we get to next week when Nielsen releases their numbers. And then we will have a very good idea of what is going on here. If The Mandalorian can maintain a position over time above the 1 billion minutes watched mark on Nielsen for this third season, then we have to reevaluate the popularity of The Mandalorian, and it may in fact have gained significant steam going forward with its episodes. And we'll report that honestly. We're not here to hate on Star Wars. We'll tell you if lots of people are watching it. We don't know yet. We know that this episode was very poorly received. There's two more tricky things to this. Tricky thing number one is that by the time we get to episode 6, it gets a 6.4, and that places it at the lowest of any Star Wars content on Disney+. 6.4 is not good. Well, it's really not good. We will have to find out, did that drive away the vast amount of the remaining audience? We know that when we started the first episode, that half the audience was not there compared to the prior season. We know that it picked up a little bit, and we know that by episode 3, people decided to tune in. But did episode 6 drive them away? We'll have to wait and see. The other tricky thing about this is, because of how popular apparently episode 7 is, and this comes down to whether or not you can stomach the sequel trilogy. People who don't care about the direction of Star Wars, people who just want good quality content, seem to have liked that chapter 23, episode 7, much better than those who are looking at this maybe at a deeper scale and going, okay, I know where this is going and I don't like it. Now, with it receiving that kind of a rating, and okay, let's pause there for a moment. Take a look at the rating numbers here. This is key too, and we just need to talk about this. When we look at the review numbers, that's going to indicate to us the excitement surrounding it, because you don't review something unless you really like it or really don't, or you're carefully following the content. 16,000, 14,000, 14,000, 11,000, 11,000, back up to 14,000 for this very low one, which indicates that people were like, they were frustrated with this one. But then, and it really doesn't matter how long it's been out, because these reviews come in very quickly, but only 10,000 for this episode 7. That may indicate that people were so frustrated with episode 6 that they stopped tuning in. Okay, last thing we need to discuss, because all of this, I'm foreshadowing what our coverage will be in the future. What is going to happen with the final episode, especially considering that we have heard that the final episode is going to feature potentially a major death? And we don't assume that Baby Yoda Grogu is going to die, but we presume that a major death is going to occur, or they're going to trick us into thinking that a major death has occurred. That's going to be the final episode. That might draw in eyes, but how many of them just left with the Lizzo thing? How many just said, that's enough, I don't want to watch Baby Yoda being knighted for helping with space beer pong anymore? We don't know. So we're going to cover this. We're going to report on it accurately. We're going to give you the truth. We're not here to make you hate Star Wars or hate The Mandalorian. My job is to try to report to you as accurately as I can so that we're explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Much of the third episode's rating spike comes from simple math. A 25% increase in runtime gave you a 25% increase in the ratings for Nielsen. But that doesn't explain it all. It did go up a little bit more than that. And so that depends now on us watching to see, can it maintain that little bit of momentum, or did episode 3 and episode 6 wipe all of that out? Fascinating stuff, and the future of Star Wars is at stake. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell. We cover your comments, so drop one down below. And if you have not yet become a member, exclusive stuff is just waiting on you to discover. Consider becoming a member today. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.